how you can make a lot of money working for somebody else. I talk a lot about how being a business owner is probably the best decision you'll ever make. It's the fastest way to build wealth. It's the fastest way to make money. But I also recognize there's a lot of people out there that it just doesn't make sense for them to be a business owner. They're either making good money at their current job or they have a financial situation that doesn't make sense for them to risk it all and go down the road of entrepreneurship. Therefore, I do think that sometimes it doesn't make sense right now, but you can kind of plan ahead to become a business owner down the road. But in the current present time, if it's not in your cards to be a business owner, I'm going to tell you how you can maximize your earning potential by thinking of two different things in which you could do to really justify getting you that massive raise. Working for somebody else, you can make over $1 million a year. That's not out of the equation. If you have the right path, if you have the right mindset of going out and adding value to a company that can be seen. And I'm going to talk about how it might make sense for you to kind of move careers, move the job that you're in. But when I get into this, you're going to understand how money kind of flows through a company and how you can really show your value so you can get that pay raise and start making some real money working for somebody else. What you need to first understand is, hey, how does money work in a company? How does it work? Well, you either need to be on one side or the other. And one side is the money coming in side. You need to be responsible and you need to say, I helped bring money into the company. Usually that's sales. You can say, hey, $1 million in revenue came in because I did X, Y, and Z. I made these sales, I made these relationships, I made this introduction, I managed this. I don't know. You need to be responsible for that money coming in the door. And on the flip side, you need to also, if you can't do the sales side, maybe that's not in your cards, you need to be on the other side of it, which is helping save money from going out, reducing expenses. One example of this is being a CPA or a controller or a CFO or somebody in the expense department who is justifying their worth by saying, hey, I saved the company $1 million because I did this, because I was creative with the way we bought this, or I found an inefficiency here which saved us money. So you, as a person, you go into your boss's office or the owner of the company and you'd say, look, I saved us $600,000. You pay me $40,000. I really think I deserve a raise because I saved you this much money. And if that person doesn't see it, then it might make sense for you to go somewhere else. So what I'm trying to tell you today is you need to be on one side or the other. You need to be on one side or the other because you can show what your worth is by how much you've brought in or by how much you've saved. And when you can show your worth to somebody else, it's a lot easier when you go in and ask for a raise. Because everybody else in the middle, which is not on the sales side, not on the expense saving side, they're interchangeable and quite frankly, they're replaceable. You're always replaceable no matter what, but in the middle, which is where most of the lower to middle class is in the middle here, they are replaceable. A cashier at a restaurant or a cashier at a grocery store, they're not responsible for bringing more money in. They're not really saving any money. They're replaceable. Most positions are in the middle. You're not responsible for one side or the other. Well, if you're in that side, you need to realize that your raises and your bonuses are not going to be justified on what your output is because it's really hard to determine what your output is. How do I determine if someone's really good at their job when they're not really bringing more money in and they're not really saving money? I guess they're doing what they're supposed to, but it's really hard to quantify what they're really adding to the company monetarily. I'm not saying you don't need that position. You need that position. You need somebody cashing people out at a cash register. But that being said, there's a ceiling in which you can pay that person because you can replace that person for somebody who's almost as good. And it's, again, hard to quantify that they're worth more than that when somebody else would replace them for the same cost. So what I'm trying to say is the people in the middle, it's sad to say, it's cogs in the wheel that, hey, you need to be there, but you also need to be there within a justified price. And this is where people continue to go in and ask for a raise. And they say, hey, you're at the very height of what we're willing to pay for that position, which basically means, hey, if we pay you over this amount, there's somebody who's willing to come in for $5,000 to $10,000 less than what you're paying. And that person is getting paid on the expenses that they save in the company. So if they can fire you and find somebody else for $10,000 less, they can go to the boss and ask for that $1,000 raise because they saved the company $10,000, right? So that person's on this side of the equation. They're on the expense saving side. They're saving the company money so they can justifiably ask for a raise. That's why you, as the employee, if you're not on one side or the other, sales is very easy to get on. There's tons of sales jobs out there. So many people don't want to be in sales because they're scared of rejection. But they don't understand about sales is that your income is tied to what you bring in. So if you work really hard and you do everything that's in the proven track record of sales, whatever company you're at, and you bring in a lot of money, you can make more money. And on the expense saving side, it's a little bit blurry on how you can really define that role, how you can really find a position in there. But really, anybody that has anything to do with purchasing or purchasing department, expense department, the accountants always make really good money because they're saving the company money by looking for expenses that shouldn't be there. So it's sad to say that the two most boring positions in companies are the people that are, one, the position that everybody hates, which is sales, and the position that everybody hates because it's boring is accounting. But those two departments, if you look at any company that you've been inside yourself, the people in accounting, they drive nice cars, they look good, they're presentable because they're hard to replace. It's hard to replace somebody who's willing to go through the numbers and pay attention to detail. The same thing with sales. The people that are successful in sales in your company probably drive the nice cars, they wear the nice suits, they wear the nice clothing. Why is that? Because it's hard to replace somebody who's shown that they've brought in more money than what their salary is. It's easy to see if a salesman is successful. Are you bringing in more money than what you're paying you, right? On a long-term basis. So if you want to make more money working for somebody else, you either need to be in the revenue producing side or the revenue saving side. If you're not, and you're in the middle, you're going to be stuck in the middle class. You're going to be stuck in the lower class because you're never going to be able to justifiably say, I deserve a raise. Because the boss is going to say, why do you deserve a raise? And you have nothing that is quantifiable that you can point to, number-wise, specific numbers that you can point to why you deserve that raise. You need to get to a point where you can point to data. If you can go into a boss's office with data, you can get a raise because you can justify based on that data. I did this. When I was at my first job, I said, this is how much revenue I brought in. I would like to get paid a percentage of that moving forward. He declined. I left. I went somewhere else. You need to take your career and be serious about it because you only have 30 years. You only have 30 years working, and if you can make this maneuver correctly and get into one side or the other, you can really increase your income today. If you got value out of today's video, hit like and subscribe.